Hi everyone, I'm Matt with TSPcalc.com. I'm here to introduce you to TSP Seasonal Investing. Okay, and first things first, if you don't know what these 5 letters mean, please stop now and go learn. I did another video called the TSP in 20 minutes. Please start there. Seasonal investing is not meant for beginners. It's meant for people who really take the time to understand the material. I want to introduce it to you, but uh, I want everybody to succeed, okay? And you're not going to succeed if you don't understand what's going on. So if you're not familiar with the basics of the TSP, which is namely these 5 funds, please go learn about them first and then come back and watch this video. Okay, so that's out of the way. What is seasonal investing? What does that mean? Well, it's named seasonal because seasons happen at the same time every year, and seasons bring with them certain things that we can predict with pretty good accuracy. I know that in winter it's going to snow. I know that in summer it's going to be hot. I know it's going to rain in the spring. And these are things that are associated with seasons. They're associated with a certain time of year, and that time of year does not guarantee they're going to happen, but they are quite likely to happen. Okay, so we know that rainy season, is roughly April. April showers bring May flowers, right? Rainy season's roughly April, and it may start a little earlier, it may start a little bit late, it might not rain at all, but usually in an average year, April's very rainy. That's what a seasonal tendency is, okay? The stock market is exactly the same way. So within the TSP, we have 5 different funds that we're allowed to choose from. And the whole premise of seasonal investing is that at certain times of the year, these funds tend to do well or tend to do poorly. It's not going to happen every year. It's just an average thing. So we might say, hey, the C fund is going to do really well at this time of the year because it usually does. For 10 years running, the C fund has done well in a specific month. And so then seasonal investing is using our trades to move our money between these 5 funds in order to take advantage of seasonal tendencies. And we don't have to be right all of the time. We only have to be right enough that we win on average. Because the long-term average of the CNS is something like 7 or 8%, okay? If you look at shorter term figures, it might be a little bit less than that, but I'm going to use 7 or 8% for these two. That's great. Okay, buy and hold is totally fine. I have no problem with it. It's a great way to go. Basically, the whole point of seasonal is to try and beat buy and hold on average. And my research shows that we should be able to do it by about 1 to 2% per year. And if you can average an additional 1% per year over 30 years, that's a tremendous amount of money. TSP.gov has a calculator where you can play with some of those numbers. Use their how much will my savings grow calculator. Start with 7%, change it to 8%, see how much money you have in retirement, and see what the difference is. I highly encourage that because that's the kind of returns that I think seasonal investing can actually net us. All right, so what causes seasonal tendencies in the stock market? There's a myriad of things. There's probably hundreds of causes, okay? There's these things called earnings season. Once a quarter, all publicly traded companies, that means companies that you can buy on the stock market, once a quarter, all publicly traded companies have to report their earnings to their shareholders, okay? That influences the stock market, and it happens at the same time every year. Elections, they're in November, and elections definitely have an impact on the stock market. And you might draw conclusions about Democrats or Republicans have this impact on the stock market. I don't get into that. The question for me is, do elections in general have a seasonal implication that I can take advantage of? Okay, the Federal Reserve, it's kind of a central bank for the U.S. economy, and they have meetings periodically where they talk about things like the prime rate, which is the rate that banks can borrow money from the Federal Reserve, has a huge impact on the economy, and their meetings are kind of regular. So those cause seasonal tendencies. Holidays, July 4th, you know, people feel good on July 4th. They buy a lot of gas, they go out to the lake, they spend a lot of money. It has an impact on the stock market. Heating season has a huge impact on the stock market. You would expect that energy companies would do very well during heating season, okay? Travel season is the same thing. There are times of the year where people tend to travel. Think again like Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. Those are heavy travel seasons. July 4th is a heavy travel season. Spring break is a heavy travel season. When these massive market moving events happen at the same time every year, they create ripple effects in these, okay? Not strong, but enough. Tax time, okay? Every April, how many Americans are 300 million Americans, and the vast majority of them get a refund in April. So what are they doing with their refund? Well, usually they go spend it. So tax time can impact the stock market. In addition, this kind of goes along with the end of the year as well, because a lot of people who are managing massive amounts of money, they're hyper focused on tax optimization, which means they sell and buy things, a lot of things right at the end of the year. It causes the stock market to move. Okay? I don't break any of this down. I just want you to understand that there's a lot of different things impacting here, and I don't study them. Instead, what I study is the data. It's a very simple approach that I've taken where in order to determine what the seasonal tendencies are, you just look at the average returns. That's it. That's all there is to it. So the TSP didn't used to publish share prices on a daily basis. They started in the middle of 2003. I don't go back to 2003 because, again, they started in the middle. So my website, TSP Calc, uses the first full available year, which would be January 1st, 2004. And that's what TSP share prices are available for on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so I'm going to draw a timeline down here where this line is January 1st, 2004, and over here, way over here, is today. So this is going to be approximate, all right? So right in the middle, we have about 2011. Okay, and then over here somewhere we have about 2007. This is not going to be to scale. It's a rough approximation. We'll call this 2015, and today is 2019, right? So this is the data that TSP Calc has available, 2004 to present. Okay, what can we do with it? Well, there are 3 seasonal tools on tspcalc.com. We're going to do these one at a time, all right? And I hope that it makes sense to you. I'm trying to break it down as straightforward as possible. Okay, so the very first tool, the beginning of TSP Calc, that tool is called the Seasonal Calculator. So if you're not familiar, the thrift savings plan allows us to move between those 5 funds. They call it the 2 IFT rule. IFT is just their word for trade, and trade means move your money from one fund to another, okay? So they call it the 2 IFT rule. I actually call it the 2 plus G IFT rule, because what it says is that twice a month you can move your money to any fund of your choosing, and after that you can still move your money, but it has to go to the G fund. So I call it the 2 plus G IFT rule, which means for the purpose of math only, there are actually 3 trades a month possible. The third one can only go to the G fund, okay? So the seasonal calculator allows you to input 12 months of 3 trades per month. 12 times 3 trades. All right? So you type it in. Just what if, that's basically what it's doing. What if I made these trades at the same time every year, 2004 to present? What would have happened? And it spits out statistics. So it tells you how much money you would have made overall. It tells you the average return for each year. It tells you the average return for each month even. So it'll average like April 2004 through April 2019. What was the highest April? What was the lowest April in that time frame? What's the average April depending on the trades that you typed in, which are basically you pulled them out of thin air, right? Okay. This is fun. It's a lot of fun to play with. And so how tspcalc.com is set up is this you just kind of make up, and there's a lot of different combinations. And so what happens is every time you enter one of these 12 times 3 trades, that's called a strategy. For the purpose of tspcalc.com, a strategy is 12 months worth of trades that can be executed over and over and over again, which means that whatever fund you end December in does not conflict with your first trade of January. It's cyclical. It has to be able to be repeated year after year after year. 2004, 5, 6, 7, you're executing the same trades every year, so it has to be cyclical. So 12 months worth of trades, even if you don't really trade in 11 of them, say you only make trades in January, that's fine. It's still 12 months worth of trades. You have to input a full year. Even if you don't do anything for 11, that information is still there. The website logs that you're trading, you're just not trading to anything, okay? So in order for the seasonal calculator to work, you have to put in 12 months worth of trades, and that's called a strategy for the purpose of TSP Calc. And if you're on the Facebook page, you'll see that represented as a number, usually 5 digits. We're about to get into 6-digit numbers, okay? So 5 digits, like 57805, and a lot of people who are new to the site see that and they're like, well, what is that? Well, 57805 or any other number just references a very specific combination of 12 months worth of trades. So you enter, I'm going to trade to the C fund on the 5th of January, and then I'm going to trade to the S fund on the 10th of December, and that's it, but I'm going to do it every year. Well, as soon as you enter that, it gets logged into the database and a number is assigned to it. So that number can be used to reference. You can share that number with coworkers and friends so that they can go and look at your strategy. And it also helps you look your strategy up again in the future. So instead of having to remember exactly what days you said you would trade on, you just type in the number and the calculator tells you, okay? So there are a lot of different ways to do 12 to the 3 trades. I had a mathematician work on it, and he determined, he couldn't even come up with an exact number. He came up with a range, and he said there's at least 10 to the 52. 10 to the 52 is such a massive number that the fastest computer in the world can't handle it. Okay, so instead of solving every possible combination, which I literally cannot do, instead, when you enter a combination, it gets added to the database, which is called the Seasonal Strategies table. And because the Seasonal Strategies table is only populated with strategies that have formerly been calculated on TSP Calc, it is by nature incomplete. Remember, I said there are 10 to the 52 possibilities. That's not millions, it's not billions, it's like billion, 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 billion. That's how many that number is. It is just phenomenally massive, okay? My website can't handle that. Google can't handle that. That's way too many. So instead, we only log what's ran, and it's kind of a crowdsourced, similar to machine learning. Like people use this table, they see what's already been ran, they pick a strategy out of this table, and then they just play with it, make some changes, and then eventually they'll generate a new strategy. And you can sort this table by you can sort it by like return or average return, and therefore it kind of pushes people towards like the better answer, because if you start making changes to somebody else's strategy and you go the wrong way, well, you're gonna think about that and go back the other way. So this is kind of a crowdsourced solution, okay? And it's also an incomplete solution because there's 10 to the 52 possibilities, And right now, as of this writing, there's only about 80,000 strategies, okay? That many possible, that many actually on the website. It's not even 1%. It's way, 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 way smaller than 1% of all possibilities. So, we can't solve every possible strategy. It's impossible, right? And in addition to that, this calculator requires you to give it 12 months worth of information before it will do anything. Well, what if I wanted to build a strategy? What if I wanted to look at months? Okay, I want to find the best way to trade April. This will not do it, okay, because you have to input all 12 months. You might be able to find a good April out of one of these, but you can't really find the best because I can't solve every possible way to do this, so I can't solve every possible way just to do April either. So what I did was I created a second tool, and I don't know where my marker went. So tool number 2, ideally I would do this with black. Oh, there's my marker. Tool number 2, the seasonal builder. So the seasonal builder works in the opposite direction, okay? So the seasonal calculator, you input the trades that you're guessing and it tells you what the resulting statistics would have been, right? The seasonal builder works in the opposite direction. So you type in the statistics that you want. You say, I want the best possible April, and that works in reverse and it tells you which trades to do. So you give it the statistics, it tells you the trades, right? You can see how this would be more useful. When I'm using this tool, I have to guess what trades I'm gonna make. I don't know what's good and what's bad. And so I have to guess, and hopefully I get good statistics. That's all I can do. This tool works in the opposite direction. So I say I want an April with 2% return or better, 2004 to 2019. And the key difference between these two tools, how this is possible, is instead of looking at 12 times 3 trades, it's only looking at 1 month, each month. Each month, okay? So when you break the whole year down into 12 chunks, into 12 months, instead of having 10 to the 52 possibilities, each month independently has like 3 to 500,000, okay? That's solvable. So that's what I did. I solved it. I built a database where each month, every possible way to trade that month, and there's somewhere between 3 to 500,000, depending on the month, each possible way to trade that month, I put it in the database and I calculated the statistics. So now you can go to that database and you can look at the statistics and then pick your trades. Makes sense? You're going the opposite direction. The trick here is that because you're doing 1 month at a time, you run into the cyclical problem again. Okay, so whatever fund you end April in, that's the fund you have to start May in before you make a trade in May. So the first day of May, you're going to be in whatever fund you ended April in. So therefore, in running every possible combination on every possible month, you can't just pick the best April and put it with the best May. You have to pick the best April that ends in F fund and put it with the best May that begins in F fund, and vice versa, okay? The seasonal builder, though, I made it to account for that, so it's very simple. When you enter the statistics you want, it'll return 5 month strategies. It'll return 5 possibilities for each start fund and end fund in a list format. So you can scroll through and say, well, in April I picked something that ended in the S fund. So in May, I have to pick something that starts in the S fund, and it makes it very simple to find that. In addition, the seasonal builder also has an auto solve feature. It's called best fit. So if you want to apply the same statistics to all 12 months, you do that at the very top of the form, and you say like, hey, show me the highest possible average return for each month independently, but I want to see all 12 of them. So you hit that button and it applies that filter, which is highest average return, to all 12 months. Okay, so you get 12 months worth of data, all sorted top to bottom from highest average return. And then, because you applied the same filter to all 12 months, because you have 12 years of data, even if you say I want April to be the highest possible average, and then in May you say like, well, I want May to be super consistent, not necessarily the highest average. I want a lot of consistency in May. Those are technically different filters, a different filter on each month, but you can still use the best fit tool. And so once you get 12 months worth of lists, worth of statistics, okay, then you can click on the best fit button, and the website will figure out what the best possible 12-month combination is out of your lists. Okay, and so it'll give you 12 months worth of trades. And guess what 12 months worth of trades is? That's a strategy. So once you put 12 months together in the seasonal builder, which is a month-by-month tool, once you put all 12 months together and it passes the cyclical test, there's a button that says send to calculator. And what it does is it takes all 12 months, 12 by 3 trades, that's a strategy. Now you're back on the seasonal calculator. What you need to do, because the seasonal calculator has much more robust graphs and tables, and it'll tell you the trading calendars and everything. So this is a big circle. You start here to learn, and it shows you statistics. You learn what those statistics are, but most of these statistics apply on an annual basis, whereas these statistics apply to a month. So if you see a return of 30% here, well, that's an average on the annual. Okay, so that's an annual return of 30%. If you type 30% in here, it's not going to work because you're looking at each month. Instead, your average return would be something like 2 or 3%. So you apply monthly statistics here, and it will give you the monthly trades. And once you put 12 months together, either manually or using the best fit tool, you send that up here. Okay, and then the seasonal calculator will say, here's your trading calendar, here's your statistics, here's your graphs. Here you can compare it against buy and hold GFCSI, and it does all of that. So these two tools work together very well. Well, so far we've talked about looking backward. Okay, hindsight is 20/20. A note on that is the statistics you see here aren't necessarily going to pan out in the future. Because hindsight is 20/20, basically we're looking at the past, we're optimizing the past, and we're hoping that an optimized past will work pretty well in the future. It's not going to work exactly the same because the market changes. This is the real world. So if we've averaged 30% for 15 years, looking backwards, I don't know, going forward we might hope that we can do 10%, but basically we're hyper optimizing the past based on statistics so that we have an educated guess of what to do in the future. But just because you see 15 years of 30% returns looking backward, and I keep saying looking backward, this is what I mean. You're standing here in 2019 and you have all this data back here. You are looking that direction. You're looking all the way back to 2004. You're saying, wow, look at all that data. What's the absolute best way I could have traded from here to there? Which has merit because now you have to turn around and you have to look the other way. But now we can't see the future. We're trying to do our best. We're marching into the unknown, and we're going to be informed by the past. But just because you see 30% returns over here doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get 30% in the future. Really, the ultimate goal is to beat buy and hold. Okay? So that's looking past. Well, man, it would be really nice if we could see into the future and get an idea. You know, could we answer the question like, well, does seasonal actually work? Or could we answer the question, you know, there's all these different kinds of statistics. Well, which statistics are actually good at predicting the market? And in order to do that, we would need to look in the future. And we can do that. And how we do that is this whole time frame, we break it into two pieces. So you draw a line right here, okay? And now, remember, you were standing over here looking back. Now, you're standing here looking back, okay? And what that enables you to do, in combination with the seasonal builder, this doesn't work with the seasonal strategies table, again, because the seasonal strategies table is, by its nature, it's always going to be incomplete. Whereas the seasonal builder, you're looking at 1 month at a time, those data sets are complete. So therefore, you can get the best fit for a certain month and then test it. And how are you going to test it? Well, you're going to build a strategy based on this data. So you're going to let 2004 to 2011 data inform your decisions. And then right here, you're going to turn around and you're going to boldly step into 2012. And so 2012 becomes the test. You built a strategy on this data over here, and then you tested it on 2012. Now, at the end of 2012, you're over here now. And you said, well, how did I do after 1 year? And this is called blind testing. Other people might have different names for it, but I call it blind testing because when you're standing in 2011, same as today. Today we're blind to next year, okay? But when you're standing in 2011 and you limit your data set to 2004 to 2011, you are effectively blind to 2012. And therefore, you can test into the future. So make a strategy using a data set that only covers 2004 to 2011, test it on the next year. And then that can inform you, oh man, is my method correct? Did I choose the right statistics? Are these statistics that I chose a good indicator of the stock market in the future? How well do these statistics work? Should I look at different statistics? Maybe standard deviation is more important. Maybe average is more important. Maybe I should only invest in the C and the S fund and nothing else. So if I look at this data set and I build a strategy that only invests in the C and the S fund and is optimized for average return, how does that work in 2012? So you can run all these different cases, all these different methods, and figure out what did well in 2012. And then you can do it all over again. You can say, well, now I'm standing on 2012. Now I have 1 more year of data under my belt. So again, I'm going to study this time frame all the way over to 2012. So now I'm studying 2004 to 2012 data, 1 extra year of data. That changes my data set, which means it's going to change the trades that I'm making every month, which means then in turn it's going to change my strategy. So then on that new strategy that I just made at the very end of 2012, now I'm going to apply that in 2013. So you can take this same method you used here. Say you said, I'm only going to invest in the C and the S funds. I don't like the other 3 funds. So I'm only going to invest in the C and the S. And I'm going to optimize each month by the highest average return. So if I use this data set and test it on 2012, how did I do? And then what if I did the same thing the next year? If I used this data set with 1 more year of available data, because 1 year has passed in time, and I use the same method, again, only CNS, and I'm trying to optimize for highest average return for each month. If I use the same method, I'm going to end up with a different strategy. Use the different strategy on the next year. How did it do? Okay? Do it again. Now you're over here. Now you're standing on to the very end of 2013. Again, your data set grew. Apply the same method The same methodology. Again, now your data set grew, so you're going to get different trades out of the seasonal builder, and you put all those together and you come up with a new strategy, and then you say, well, how did that strategy do in 2014? How did it perform? Again, you're blind to 2014 to begin with. So that is the basis for tool number 3, the blind tests. And this is the most poorly understood section of my website, and that's because I've never taken the time to sit down and explain it like this. The blind tests depend on the seasonal builder, because you just can't use this table. I can't go into the seasonal strategies table and do this kind of testing where I break up my time frame and roll one forward, because the seasonal strategies table is inherently biased because it's incomplete. It's like you're only looking at, say you got a huge mountain range in front of you, all right? East to west, beautiful mountain range, but you're only looking at this little mountain over here. And the big mountain, Mount Everest, is over on the right, but your tunnel vision is right here. That's what the seasonal strategies table is limited. That's exactly what it means. It's still useful, but it cannot be used for blind testing. It cannot be used to inform your decision. What method should I be using on this website? What statistics matter to me? This table cannot inform that. This can. The seasonal builder can, because again, it uses 12 complete data sets. So by changing your focus from the full year down to each month, you now have 12 complete data sets, and you can do this kind of testing. And then that will determine what your methodology is. These blind tests are what I personally use in order to make my seasonal strategy decision. The tables in the blind test can be kind of difficult to read, but basically this is what's going on, okay? The data frame, so 2004 to 2011 here is the data frame. The second one, the data frame is 2004 to 2012. The third longer one, 2004 through 2013. That's called the data frame. So when you look at a table on the blind test, you're going to see columns, and each column is a different data frame length. Okay, so column 1, I shouldn't have erased that timeline at the bottom. So when you're reading these blind tests, it's going to say case. I'm actually going to change it to say method here, students. So method, it'll say method. And like I said before, whatever your method is. Say for this example, I want to use all 5 funds, and I want the highest possible average. So you can do this blind testing yourself. You can go to the seasonal builder and you can input this, and it will tell you the results, and you can use the best fit tool, and it'll create a 12-month strategy that can be repeated time and time again. So you can do this blind testing yourself, okay? And the table, basically, I'm gonna approximate it here. So let's say 2004. Well, actually, it's 2005. 2004 is the first year of data. So we can't do blind testing on 2004 because we don't have any data before 2004. So at the start of 2004, we have nothing to inform our decision. All right? 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. Okay? So this is a simplified version of the blind test table. Up here, you're going to see something, it says years of data. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We won't even get to 5. Okay, so What do these columns mean? Well, it's exactly what we just went over. So if you're using 1 year of data and you're testing a strategy on 2005, then down here you used 2004, we'll put a mark on there, that's 2005. So what you're doing is you're standing right here at the end of 2004. 2004 is between these brackets, sorry. So you're going to look this direction. You're going to look at this data frame, this 1 year, which is 2004. You're going to look at 2004 and you're going to plug it into the builder. 2004 to 2004, I'm using all 5 funds. What's the highest possible average? And basically, in that case, what it's going to tell you is what was the best possible way to treat each month for 2004. So this is your data frame. Again, 1 year of data, which means that this bracket is only 1 year long. And then you're going to turn around and you're going to test this on 2005. So this is your test year, and that's 05. And then whatever this return is gets put in here. So we'll say the return was 7.3%. So that goes right there. And if you click on the 7.3, it'll show you what the strategy was that was used in 05 to make 7.3%. Okay, coming down the column, still 1 year of data, but now we're 1 year ahead. So instead of standing, I'm going to move this over just so 04 is between those two brackets. Okay, now we've moved 1 year ahead. So this little stick guy, he's also moved. Now he's standing on the very end of 2005. Now he's only using 1 year of data for this column, okay? Which means he's no longer looking at 2004. Instead, he's only looking at 2005. So he's looking here at 2005, and then he's going to test that on 2006. So what was his return? Well, the calculator will generate his 2006 return. We'll say it's 4.3%, and it'll go right there. Okay, again, if you click on 4.3%, it'll load up the seasonal calculator with the strategy that he used in 2006 to get 4.3%. All right, so as he moves down this column, this little man moves over 1 year at a time, and he's always looking 1 year behind him and using that to build a strategy in the seasonal builder, and then he's applying it to the year right in front of him, and these are the returns he's getting. Okay, and at the very bottom, I average this. So we'll say the little man, so the blind strategy, whatever the average of that is, I'm just going to make it up. The average is 5.4. Okay, so it averaged this whole column, and then right underneath that, you can compare that to the C, S, and I. So let's say the C, it's over the same time frame. Okay, so the blind test for column 1 is being averaged from the start of 2005 to the end of 2008. Let me just throw some numbers in there so you understand the column is complete. 5.6, just made them up. That's probably not the right average. I don't care, it's close. So then you can compare it against the C and the S. So the C right here, it tells you what the return of the C fund was from January 1st, 2005 through December 31st, 2008. It's the same time range as what's available in the column. So let's say that it was 4% and the S fund got 6% and the I fund got 2.3%. Okay, so all of these 3 core funds, and then your blind test method where the strategy rolled forward each year, here are the averages. Now you can compare them directly. They're covering the exact same time frame. Okay, so let's jump ahead. 3 years of data column. So again, we're going to get out our little man. There's 2004. First, he's going to try standing there. Now he needs 3 years of data, so he's looking in reverse. He only has 1 year of data. So guess what? Nothing. He can't do anything because he doesn't have 3 years of data. So then he moves forward again to the very end of 2005. Now he has 2 years of data available, but he needs 3 for this column. Again, he can do nothing. On the blind test on the website, these are just represented by blanks. Okay? So finally, now he's standing at the end of 2006. And now, guess what? Now he has 3 years of data. So he studies these 3 years, and he puts these 3 years as a year range in the seasonal builder along with these criteria, this method, and then he tests that on 2007. Okay, so now this is 07. Sorry, you can't see that. That's 2007. So he tests it on 07. He returns 6.5%. Okay, right off the bat, you can conclude 3 years of data, at least in this instance, worked better than 1 year of data for 2007. Because remember, both of these were tested on 2007. Both of these were strategies created at the very end of 2006, December 31st. You know, right before the ball drops, these two strategies were created. This one did better. It might be just because it's using more data, or it might be a fluke. And that's why we run all these different years. We just keep doing this. We move this forward and forward and forward so that we can fill in an entire column and get a very good idea of what the blind test average down here is compared to the buy and holds underneath it. And another important thing to say is that the CS&I down here, you know, in this column, these CS&I values are this whole year range, 2005 to 2008. So that might be 6.5, okay? Over here, it's different. Why is it different? Because remember, this guy could not trade with a 3-year data frame in 2006. He couldn't trade with a 3-year data frame in 2005 either. So his data frame started, he couldn't move with 3 years of data until 2007. And then we'll throw a 7 in there. So his average is 6.75. And that, see, this average covers 4 years of trading. This average covers 2 years of trading, which means the C fund number here represents 2 years of trading. So the C fund number you see here, let's just go with an even 6. I'm just making this up as I go. This number is different than that number because this C fund average is these 4 years averaged together. This C fund average is these 2 years averaged together. And the purpose of that is so that you can directly compare that to the average of your blind test results. Okay, and this goes all the way out to like 9, what are we up to now? 2004 to present. This goes all the way out to 15 columns. So you'll see way out here, this table, and it'll say 15. And remember, he doesn't have 15 years of data over here. He doesn't have 15 years of data. He's got to get all the way to the end of 2019 to have 15 years of data, which means this column is completely empty. But he's currently in, okay, say at the end of 2018. So this is 2018, all right? He looks back. So 2004 through 2018 inclusive is 15 years of data. 2004 through 2018, both of those years included, that's 15 years of data, okay? So right now, his data frame is 15 years. It goes from here all the way down there, all right? But at the point of time when this video was made, 2019 has not yet concluded. So he put this data frame in, he used this method, he came up with a strategy, and he's applying it right now to 2019. So he doesn't know what his year-end return is. This table will end, the lowest number on here will be last year, So that's 2018 is the last completed one. Okay, and then down below the benchmarks, down below CS&I, you'll see this year. So at the time when I made this video, this year is 2019. So it's at the very bottom of the table because it's in progress. And so way over here, you will see a number. And it'll say, I don't know, I've done really well this year, so I'm going to put 32%. The strategy that I'm following is currently at like 32%. So this number is down at the bottom of the table, and there will be numbers all the way across here. There will be a 1 year data frame number right here for 2019. It's in progress. So whatever number is there is year to date, January 1st to now. It's still a made strategy. You can click on it and you can see it. So if you clicked on that number, it would show you the strategy that this field is currently following. That's blind tests, and I hope that that actually makes sense, because I wish more people would use them. In my opinion, the blind tests are the most valuable part of the website, because you can start comparing to CS&I, and you can really, since these tests were conducted blindly, you can finally start drawing conclusions about, like, hey, what actually works and what doesn't. And that's the whole point of the blind test, just to figure out what works so that we've got a better shot at getting seasonal right as we go forward. And that concludes my video. Thanks for using tspcalc.com.